The phone rings at 11:47 p.m. Detective Sarah Chen stares at the screen of her computer. Her coffee gone cold hours ago. The fluorescent lights of the Sacramento Police Department DNA lab hum overhead. Her hand trembles as she reaches for the phone. The Kodos match has a name. 43 years. 43 years of silence. 43 years of a family's unanswered prayers. And now, the answer glows on her screen in clinical database text. She knows this name. Everyone in Sacramento knows this name, Richard Palmer. Age 69. 26 years of service. Employee of the Year. 3 commendations. The man who helped search for Michelle Rodriguez. Back in 1981, the maintenance worker who comforted her grieving mother. The trusted face who attended the memorial service. The killer had been hiding in plain sight for 43 years. Detective Chen closes her eyes. When she opens them, the name is still there. The DNA doesn't lie. It never lies. What nobody knew that night was that this moment would unravel everything. It would rewrite history. It would resurrect ghosts. And it would prove that some secrets can't stay buried forever. But to understand how we got here, we have to go back. Back to a warm October evening in 1981. Back to a graduate student walking across a parking lot with her entire future ahead of her. Back to the moment when everything changed. October 15th, 1981, Sacramento, California. The campus of California State University, Sacramento sits quiet under the amber glow of streetlights. It's 9:47 p.m. on a Thursday. Most students have already left for the day. The library's lights shine through tall windows. Somewhere in the distance, a radio plays Journey's Don't Stop Believing from a car with its windows down. Michelle Rodriguez, 23 years old, walks across the north parking lot. Her arms are loaded with textbooks: abnormal psychology, cognitive neuroscience, research methods. She's a second-year graduate student in the clinical psychology program. Her dream is to open a practice helping children who've experienced trauma. She'll never get the chance. Michelle is petite, 5'3", with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She's wearing jeans, a Sacramento State sweatshirt, and white sneakers. In her backpack, there's a half-eaten sandwich, 3 colored pens, and a photograph of her younger sister Maria that she keeps for good luck. The parking lot is nearly empty. Her red Honda Civic sits alone under a broken streetlight. She remembers thinking she should park closer to the building next time. The darkness makes her uneasy. She doesn't notice the maintenance van parked 3 rows away. Doesn't see the figure watching from behind the tinted windows. Michelle reaches her car, fumbles for her keys. The campus is so quiet she can hear the American River flowing in the distance, just beyond the trees that border the eastern edge of campus. Need some help with those books? The voice makes her jump. Michelle turns. It's Richard Palmer. She recognizes him, the friendly maintenance guy who's always around campus, always willing to help. She's seen him a dozen times. He fixed the broken air conditioning in her department last month. He helped her carry a heavy box to her office once. He has kind eyes and a gentle smile. She trusts him. "Oh, hi, Mr. Palmer." "No, I'm okay, thank you." "You sure?" "Those look heavy." "I'm just finishing my shift, heading out myself." Michelle hesitates. Her arms are tired. The books are heavy. "Well, if you're sure it's no trouble, no trouble at all." He walks toward her, his work boots crunching on the asphalt. This is the moment. The moment that will haunt her family for 43 years. The moment that will be analyzed, dissected, agonized over in countless sleepless nights. The moment when trust becomes fatal. What? Michelle doesn't know. What she can't possibly know is that Richard Palmer has been watching her for weeks. He knows her schedule. He knows she stays late on Thursdays. He knows this parking lot has a broken security camera. He knows the campus police are dealing with a fight at the student union on the other side of campus. He's planned this carefully. Just set them on the hood for a sec, he says. Let me open your door for you. Michelle sets down her books, reaches for her keys. Again, she never sees him move. The blow comes from behind. Quick, brutal. A tire iron from his work van. Michelle crumples without a sound. Her keys clatter to the ground. One of her textbooks slides off the hood and falls. Pages splaying open to a chapter about violence and aggression. The irony is crushing. Palmer works fast. He's strong from years of manual labor. He lifts Michelle's unconscious body. She weighs barely 100 pounds and carries her to his van. He throws her books into the back, wipes down her car hood with a rag from his pocket, picks up her keys. 3 minutes. That's all it takes to change everything. He drives away from campus, heading east toward the American River. His van blends in with the night. Just another maintenance vehicle. Nobody gives it a second glance. Michelle Rodriguez is alive when he puts her in the van. By the time he's done with her near the river, she's not. The call comes in at 6:42 a.m. on October 16th. A jogger named Dennis Morrison is running his usual route along the American River Parkway. The morning fog rolls off the water. He loves this time of day, peaceful, quiet. The world's still waking up. Then he sees the red sweatshirt. At first, he thinks someone left their clothes. Maybe teenagers having a bonfire party. But as he gets closer, his stomach drops. It's not just a sweatshirt. Dennis stops running. His hands shake as he pulls out his wallet, looking for the emergency number card his wife made him carry. He can barely dial, can barely speak when the dispatcher answers. There's a body. By the river. Oh God. Oh God. Detective James Morrison, no relation to Dennis, arrives at the scene at 7:15 a.m. He's 42 years old, a 20-year veteran of the Sacramento Police Department. He's seen a lot in 2 decades. Domestic disputes, gang violence, robbery gone wrong. But something about this case makes his gut twist. The victim is young. Too young, she's lying face down in the dirt and fallen leaves, partially hidden by brush about 30 feet from the main trail. She's been beaten so severely that identification will require dental records. Her skull has multiple fractures. The coroner will later determine the cause of death as massive blunt force trauma. But there are other injuries too. Defensive wounds on her arms, scratches on her legs from being dragged. Signs of a struggle. She fought back. We've got a Sacramento state ID, says Officer Jennifer Brooks, carefully photographing the scene. She holds up a plastic evidence bag. Inside is a student identification card, blood-stained but readable. Michelle Rodriguez, age 23, graduate student. The photo shows a smiling young woman with hope in her eyes. Detective Morrison feels something break inside his chest. He has a daughter about this age. Let's find out everything about her, he says quietly. Everything. Who she was, where she was last night, who she was with. This girl deserves justice. What Detective Morrison doesn't know yet is that justice won't come for 43 years. And when it finally arrives, it will be because of technology that doesn't even exist yet in 1981. The crime scene technicians work methodically. They collect evidence, photograph everything, create a grid and search inch by inch. They find tire tracks near where the body was discovered. They make plaster casts. They find fibrous blue polyester, possibly from work clothes. They find hair that doesn't match the victim, brown male, approximately 40 to 50 years old, based on microscopic analysis. And they find something else. Something crucial under Michelle's fingernails. There's biological material. Skin cells, blood. She scratched her attacker. In 1981, this means very little. DNA analysis is still experimental, not yet admissible in court. They store the samples anyway, following protocol. Those samples will wait in a freezer for 43 years. Holding their secret, Maria Rodriguez is making breakfast when the doorbell rings. She's 19 years old, 4 years younger than Michelle. They share an apartment near campus. Maria is studying accounting. Michelle was always the ambitious one, the dreamer. Maria is the practical one. They balance each other perfectly. Maria isn't worried yet. Michelle sometimes stays overnight at the library during midterms. It's annoying but typical. She opens the door still in her bathrobe. 2 police officers stand on the porch, a man and a woman. Their faces are grave. Maria Rodriguez. The female officer asks, "Yes. Is Michelle Rodriguez your sister?" The world starts to tilt. Yes. Why? Is she okay? Did something happen? The officers exchange a glance. That glance tells Maria everything she needs to know before they even speak. "May we come in?" The male officer asks gently. Maria's knees give out. She grabs the doorframe. No, no, no. She's fine. She's at the library. She's fine, but she's not fine. She'll never be fine again. The next hours are a blur of horror, identification, questions, shock, Maria's. Parents drive up from Fresno. Her mother, Carmen, collapses when she sees Michelle's body at the morgue. Her father, Roberto, stands frozen, unable to process what he's seeing. Their beautiful daughter. Their smart, kind, ambitious daughter. Beaten to death and dumped like garbage near a river. Who could do this? Who could do this to Michelle? The investigation moves fast at first. Detective Morrison is relentless. He interviews everyone who knew Michelle. Her professors, her classmates, her friends. Her ex-boyfriend from sophomore year, but he has an airtight alibi. Working a night shift at a grocery store with dozens of witnesses. They canvass the campus. Talk to security guards. Check the parking lot. Camera broken, hasn't worked in weeks. The university promises to fix it. Too late now. They talk to everyone who is on campus that night: students, faculty, staff, including Richard Palmer. He's interviewed on October 18th. 3 days after the murder. He sits in the interview room, work uniform clean and pressed. He's 42 years old then, been working campus maintenance for 16 years. Married, 3 kids. Lives in a modest house in Carmichael. Did you see Michelle Rodriguez on the night of October 15th? Detective Morrison asks. Richard shakes his head. Looks genuinely distressed. I saw her around campus earlier that day, I think. Sweet girl. Always said hello. This is just ... It's terrible. I can't believe someone would do this. What time did you leave campus that night? Around 8:30, maybe 9. I was doing some work in the science building. Broken heater. I clocked out and went home. Anyone see you leave? Jerry Hawkins, another maintenance guy. We talked in the parking lot before I left. K. They check. Jerry confirms it. Richard Palmer left campus around 8:45 p.m. Michelle was last seen by a classmate at 9:30 p.m. Leaving the library, Richard Palmer has an alibi. Sort of. The timeline is tight, but possible. He goes on the list of people who were on campus that night. One of 47 names. Nothing stands out about him. He's cooperative, sympathetic. He even helps with the search parties over the next week, combing the area for additional evidence. Carmen Rodriguez thanks him for his kindness. The killer comforts the victim's mother. It will be 43 years before anyone realizes the truth. The weeks pass. Then, months. Detective Morrison follows every lead, every tip, every possibility. They look at registered sex offenders in the area. They investigate campus security breaches. They track down a suspicious man seen near the river that week turns out to be a homeless veteran with mental health issues who couldn't possibly have done it. The tire tracks lead nowhere. The fibers are too common to trace. The hair samples can't be matched to anyone without DNA technology. The case grows cold. By December 1981, the leads have dried up. Detective Morrison still works the case, but he has other cases now. New murders. New victims. The Rodriguez family calls every week. Then every month. Then every few months, Michelle's case file gets thicker with reports that go nowhere. Tips that lead to dead ends. Hope that slowly dies. In 1982, Detective Morrison takes early retirement. The Rodriguez case haunts him. He'll wake up some nights for the rest of his life thinking about that young woman by the river, wondering what he missed. In 1985, the case is officially classified as cold. Michelle's murder becomes a statistic, an unsolved homicide. One of thousands, her family never gives up hope, but hope gets harder to hold on to as the years pass. Time passes in a strange way for the Rodriguez family. For everyone else, life moves forward. The world changes. Reagan serves 2 terms. The Berlin Wall falls. The internet is invented. Cell phones become ubiquitous. The new millennium arrives. But for Carmen and Roberto Rodriguez, time stops in October 1981. Every birthday Michelle doesn't celebrate. Every Christmas she doesn't come home for. Every achievement, graduations, weddings, grandchildren, that she's not there to witness. Maria gets married in 1989. She stands at the altar and looks at the empty chair, where her sister should be sitting. She names her first daughter Michelle, born in 1993. Little Michelle will grow up knowing her aunt only through photographs and stories. Carmen keeps Michelle's room exactly as it was. The textbooks still on the desk. The poster of Einstein on the wall. The stuffed teddy bear on the bed. Roberto begs her to let it go, to move forward, but Carmen can't, won't. She's not gone until we know what happened, Carmen says. Until we know who did this. They write letters to the police department. The new detectives assigned to cold cases. They call, they ask. Always the same answer: we're doing everything we can. No new leads. We haven't forgotten Michelle, but it feels like forgetting. Richard Palmer, meanwhile, lives his life. He continues working at Sacramento State until 1998. When he retires with a pension and a plaque thanking him for 33 years of dedicated service, his colleagues throw him a party. He gives a speech about how much the university meant to him, how proud he is to have been part of the campus community. He doesn't mention that he murdered one of their students. He and his wife moved to a small house in Folsom. They have grandchildren now. Richard volunteers at a local community center. He's known as a kind man, a good neighbor. He helps elderly residents with their yard work. He donates to charity. He has nightmares sometimes. Dreams of a young woman with dark hair. But he never tells anyone about them. Never confesses. Never shows a crack in the facade. Psychologists will later explain this. Some killers, especially organized ones who commit a single crime of opportunity, can compartmentalize. They separate the person they are from the thing they did. They build a wall in their mind and never look over it. Richard Palmer built that wall in 1981 and maintained it for 43 years. But walls eventually crumble, and secrets eventually surface, especially in the age of DNA. The breakthrough begins not with Michelle's case, but with technology that doesn't even exist when she dies. In 1984, British geneticist Alec Jeffreys develops DNA fingerprinting. In 1987, it's used to solve a crime for the first time. Throughout the 1990s, the technology improves. Databases are created. Protocols are established. In 1998, the FBI launches CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System, a national database of DNA profiles from crime scenes and convicted offenders. Slowly, it's painfully slowly, police departments begin submitting evidence from cold cases for DNA analysis. The backlog is enormous. Tens of thousands of cases. Limited resources. Budget constraints. Michelle Rodriguez's case is submitted for DNA analysis in 2003. The skin cells from under her fingernails. The hair found at the scene. They extract a DNA profile. It goes into COD is no match. The profile sits in the database, waiting for the killer to commit another crime, waiting for him to get arrested and have his DNA added to the system, waiting for a miracle. Years pass. 2005, 2010, 2015. Carmen Rodriguez is diagnosed with breast cancer in 2011. She beats it, but it ages her. She's in her 70s now. Roberto too. They know time is running out. I want to know before I die, Carmen tells Maria. They're sitting in Michelle's room, now dusty and faded. I want to look him in the eyes. I want him to know we never forgot. We'll find him, Mama, Maria promises. But she's been making this promise for 30 years. She's starting to wonder if it's a lied out. What they don't know is that the world of forensic genetics is about to change everything. A man named Joseph D'Angelo is arrested in Sacramento. He's the Golden State Killer, responsible for 13 murders, 50 rapes, and over 100 burglaries across California in the 1970s and 80s. He's caught using a revolutionary new technique. Forensic genetic genealogy. Investigators upload the Golden State Killer's DNA profile to public genealogy databases like GEDmatch. They build family trees. They narrow down suspects. They identify D'Angelo. Arrest him. The case is solved after 44 years. The technique sends shockwaves through law enforcement. Suddenly, cold cases that seemed impossible to solve are being cracked wide open. All across America, police departments are dusting off old evidence boxes and trying the same approach. In Sacramento, a young detective named Sarah Chen reads about the Golden State Killer case and thinks immediately of the cold case files stacked in the basement of the police department. All those unsolved murders. All those families still waiting. She thinks of Michelle Rodriguez. Detective Sarah Chen is 34 years old in 2018. She grew up in Sacramento. She became a cop because of an unsolved crime. Her uncle was murdered in a robbery in 1995. Case never solved. She understands what it means to live with questions that never get answered. She's assigned to the cold case unit in 2019. Her first week. She pulls every unsolved murder from the 1980s that has biological evidence. There are 42 cases. Michelle Rodriguez's file is fourth from the top. Sarah reads the entire file, every report, every interview, every dead end. She reads about Michelle's dreams of becoming a psychologist, about her family's anguish, about Detective Morrison's dedication and ultimate frustration. She looks at the crime scene photos, at Michelle's student ID, at the evidence list. DNA profile available. In CODIS since 2003, no match. Sarah makes a note. This one matters, but there's a problem. Budget, resources. The forensic genealogy process is expensive. Each case costs thousands of dollars. The department has limited funds. Sarah makes a presentation to her captain. She argues that the Rodriguez case is a good candidate. Strong DNA evidence. Cooperative family. High profile enough to generate positive publicity if solved. Sacramento native. The family has waited 37 years. Her captain listens, considers. I'll see what I can do. Months pass. Sarah keeps working other cases. keeps thinking about Michelle Rodriguez. In March 2020, the world shuts down. COVID-19. Suddenly, everything is different. DNA labs are overwhelmed with testing. Cold casework stops. Sarah uses the time to dig deeper into the Rodriguez case. She works from home, files spread across her dining room table. She reads every interview again, studies the timeline, maps the campus. She notices something Detective Morrison flagged but couldn't pursue. Richard Palmer, campus maintenance. On duty that night, his timeline was tight. He was one of the last people to see Michelle alive, or, at least, he was on campus when she disappeared. But there was no evidence connecting him. Nothing concrete. Just proximity. Sarah makes another note. Richard Palmer, retired 1998. Current residence, Folsom, CA. She files it away. It's just a name on a long list. Nothing special. Not yet. The world slowly reopens in 2021. Labs catch up on backlogs. Cold case units resume work. In August 2023, Sarah Chen gets approval. The Rodriguez case is greenlit for forensic genetic genealogy analysis. Sarah calls Maria Rodriguez. Maria is 61 years old now. Her mother, Carmen, passed away in 2021, never getting the answers she needed. Roberto is 84 in declining health. We're going to try something new, Sarah tells Maria. A new technique. It solved a lot of old cases. I can't promise anything, but do it, Maria says immediately. Whatever it takes. Michelle deserves justice. Sarah sends Michelle's case evidence to a specialized genetic genealogy lab. The process takes months. They extract DNA from the skin cells under Michelle's fingernail skin cells from her killer. They create a comprehensive DNA profile. They upload it to genealogy databases. Then they wait. The genealogist assigned to the case is Dr. Patricia Wong, a woman who's helped solve 16 cold cases. She's brilliant, methodical, relentless. She starts building family trees. The killers. DNA shows heritage from Western Europe, primarily British and German ancestry. She finds matches in the database distant cousins, third and fourth degree relatives. She builds the trees out, generation by generation. Name by name. Birth records, marriage records. Census data. She's looking for the intersection, the point where all these family lines converge. It takes 4 months. In October 2024, 43 years to the month after Michelle's murder. Dr. Wong narrows it down to 3 possible suspects. 3 men of the right age, living in the Sacramento area in 1981 with the right genetic background. One of them is Richard Palmer. Dr. Wong sends her report to Detective Chen. Sarah reads it twice. Then a third time, Richard Palmer, born 1955. Worked at Sacramento State, 1965 to 1998. Maintenance Department. Sarah pulls his original interview from 1981. Reads it again with new eyes. On campus that night, knew Michelle. Knew the parking lots. Knew which cameras were broken. Had opportunity, had access. But they need more than genealogy. They need direct DNA evidence linking Richard Palmer to the crime. They need his DNA. Sarah and her partner, Detective Mike Torres, begin surveillance on Richard Palmer. He's 69 years old now, still lives in Folsom. Widowed, his wife died in 2019. He looks like a normal, elderly man. Walks with a slight limp. Tends his garden. Visits his grandchildren. They watch him for 2 weeks, waiting for an opportunity to collect his DNA legally. A discarded coffee cup. A cigarette butt. Anything. On November 3, 2024. Richard Palmer goes to a local diner for breakfast. Sarah and Mike watch from across the street. When Palmer leaves, Mike enters the diner. The waitress is clearing Palmer's table. "Excuse me," Mike says, showing his badge. "I need that coffee cup." Police business. The waitress's eyes go wide, but she hands it over. Mike bags it carefully. It's chain of custody documented. They send it to the lab for DNA analysis with rush processing. The results come back on November 18, 2024. Perfect match. 43-year-old DNA from under Michelle Rodriguez's fingernails matches Richard Palmer's DNA from the coffee cup. Probability: 1 in 8.7 quintillion. Richard Palmer killed Michelle Rodriguez. Sarah Chen sits in her car outside the lab and cries. For Michelle, for her family, for all the years lost. Then she dries her tears, calls her captain, calls the district attorney. They're making an arrest. November 20th, 2024. 6 a.m., the arrest team assembles. 3 blocks from Richard Palmer's house. 8 officers, 2 detectives. Full tactical gear just in case, though they don't expect resistance from a 69-year-old retiree. Sarah Chen leads the team. She's wearing a bulletproof vest. Her heart is hammering. This is it. After 3 years on the case, after 43 years of waiting, this is the moment. Remember, she tells the team, he's elderly, but he's dangerous. He killed before. Stay sharp. They drive to Palmer's house. It's a quiet street, nice neighborhood. The house is small but well maintained. Flower beds. American flag by the front door. The kind of house that looks like it belongs to someone's kindly grandfather. The kind of house where a killer lives. They knock. Wait. Knock again. Louder. Police? Open the door. Sounds from inside. Shuffling footsteps. The door opens. Richard Palmer stands there in a bathrobe, looking confused and scared. His hair is gray now, thinning. His face is lined with age. He looks nothing like the 42-year-old man who murdered Michelle Rodriguez. But it's him, Richard Palmer. Sarah asks, though she knows the answer. Yes. What's this about? Richard Palmer, you're under arrest for the murder of Michelle Rodriguez in October 1981. For one moment, just once, something flashes across Palmer's face. Recognition, fear, guilt. It's there and gone in an instant, replaced by confusion. What? I don't. There must be some mistake. I don't know what you're talking about. Turn around and put your hands behind your back. I want to call my lawyer. This is crazy. I didn't kill anyone, but his hands are shaking as they cuff him. His voice wavers. He knows he's known this moment might come someday, and now it has. They lead him to the patrol car. Neighbors come out onto their porches. Phones recording. By noon, it will be national news. Sarah reads him his Miranda rights. Palmer says nothing, just stares straight ahead. In the patrol car, Sarah sits in the back seat next to him. She wants to see his face when she tells him. We have your DNA, Mr. Palmer. We found it under Michelle's fingernails. She fought you. She scratched you. Your DNA has been waiting 43 years to tell the truth. Palmer closes his eyes. I want my lawyer. That's all he'll say, but Sarah sees it. The defeat, the knowledge that it's over. The secret he kept for 43 years just collapsed. The news explodes across Sacramento and then nationwide. Cold case solved after 43 years. DNA catches campus killer trusted maintenance worker arrested. For 1981 student murder family gets justice after 4 decades. Michelle Rodriguez case closed. Maria Rodriguez's phone rings constantly. Media requests, interview demands. She ignores most of them. She doesn't want to be on TV. She wants to sit in her quiet house and process the fact that after 43 years, they finally know. Sarah Chen calls her personally with the news before the media breaks it. We got him, Sarah says. We got him, Maria. Maria can't speak for a long moment. Then, tell me everything. Sarah does. The genetic genealogy, the surveillance, the arrest, the DNA match. He was there the whole time, Maria whispers. At her memorial, At the vigils, he looked my mother in the eyes and lied. Yes, want to see him. At the trial. I want him to see me and know that we never forgot. That Michelle never stopped mattering. You'll get your chance, Sarah promises. Richard Palmer's arraignment happens 3 days later. He's appointed a public defender. He can't afford a private attorney. His family has abandoned him. His children refuse to visit. His grandchildren are horrified. He pleads not guilty. The media frenzy is intense. How did he hide this for so long? Did he kill others? Was Michelle his only victim? Investigators dig into his past. They look at unsolved cases from the areas where Palmer lived and worked. They find nothing. As far as they can tell, Michelle Rodriguez was his only murder. One moment of rage, one opportunity taken, one life destroyed, and then he just went back to normal. Went to work, raised his kids, lived his life. The psychology of it fascinates and horrifies experts. How can someone kill so brutally and then just continue? Go home to dinner, accuse his wife. Read his children bedtime stories. A forensic psychologist interviewed for the news says some killers have an extraordinary capacity for compartmentalization. They can separate the crime from their identity. They don't see themselves as bad people. They see the murder as an aberration, a moment that doesn't define them. But it does define them. It always does. The trial begins in March 2025. The Sacramento County Courthouse is packed. Media, true crime enthusiasts, families of other cold case victims, hoping this case will bring attention to their own missing loved ones, and Maria Rodriguez, sitting in the front row, clutching a photograph of her sister. Richard Palmer sits at the defense table, looking old and frail. His lawyer argues that the DNA evidence, while conclusive, is all they have. No witnesses, no confession, no murder weapon. The case is entirely circumstantial beyond the DNA. The prosecution, led by Deputy District Attorney James Morrison, yes, the same name as the original detective. No relation presence, a devastating case. They show the DNA evidence, the genetic genealogy process, the coffee cup, the match, the statistical impossibility of it being anyone else. They present the timeline. Palmer's presence on campus that night, his opportunity, his knowledge of campus security, blind spots. They bring in forensic experts who explain how the DNA under Michelle's fingernails got there. She fought her killer. She scratched him. His skin cells embedded under her nails. Michelle Rodriguez identified her killer 43 years ago. Morrison tells the jury. She left us a message. She gave us the evidence. She fought for her life, and in fighting, she ensured that one day this day justice would come. The defense argues reasonable doubt. They point out that Palmer had no history of violence before or after. No motive, no criminal record. Just a regular man who happened to be on campus that night. But the DNA doesn't lie. Maria Rodriguez takes the stand to give a victim impact statement. She walks slowly to the witness box. She's 62 years old. Michelle would have been 66 if she'd lived. Would have been a successful psychologist. Would have had her own family. Would have grown old with her sister. Maria looks directly at Richard Palmer. He won't meet her eyes. My sister was 23 years old when you killed her, Maria begins. Her voice is steady, strong. She was brilliant. She was kind. She was going to change the world. She wanted to help children who'd been hurt. And you took that from her. You took it all. Palmer stares at the table. My mother died without knowing who killed her daughter. My father is 85 years old and in a nursing home. He cries for Michelle every day. For 43 years, our family has lived in darkness. For 43 years, you walked free while Michelle lay in the ground. Maria's voice breaks slightly, but she continues. You looked my mother in the eyes at Michelle's memorial. You helped search for evidence. You pretended to care. And all that time, you knew. You knew what you'd done. She pauses, swallows hard. I hope you live a very long time, Mr. Palmer. I hope you live long enough to understand what you took from this world. And I hope that when you close your eyes at night, you see my sister's face. I hope you never forget her. The courtroom is silent. Several jurors are crying. Palmer finally looks up, meets Maria's eyes. For just a moment, his facade cracks. Grief, remorse, shame. It's hard to say. Then he looks away. The jury deliberates for 6 hours. Sarah Chen waits in the courthouse hallway with Maria and her family. The waiting is excruciating. 43 years of waiting, and now these final hours feel endless. At 4:47 p.m. on April 2nd, 2025, the jury returns. Everyone files back into the courtroom. Richard Palmer stands as the judge enters. Has the jury reached a verdict? Judge Elizabeth Hawthorne asks. We have, Your Honor, the jury foreman says. On the count of murder in the first degree, how do you find? The foreman looks at Palmer, then at Maria, then back to the judge. We find the defendant guilty. The courtroom erupts. Maria collapses forward, sobbing. Sarah Chen grabs her, holds her. Justice. Finally, after 43 years, Richard Palmer shows no emotion. Just stands there, blank-faced, as the bailiff approaches to take him into custody. Judge Hawthorne bangs her gavel. Order, order in the court. When the room quiets, she addresses Palmer. Mr. Palmer, you have been found guilty of first-degree murder. You took the life of a promising young woman who had her whole future ahead of her. You robbed her family of 43 years of her presence. You showed no remorse, no conscience, no humanity. She pauses. Sentencing will be held in 2 weeks. Until then, you are remanded to custody without bail. Palmer is led away in handcuffs. He doesn't look back. The sentencing hearing is shorter. Richard Palmer has no statement to make. No apology. No explanation. His lawyer makes a brief plea for leniency based on Palmer's age and health. My client is 69 years old. He has heart disease, diabetes. Whatever sentence you impose will likely be a life sentence. Judge Hawthorne is unmoved. Mr. Palmer, you are hereby sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. You will spend the rest of your natural life behind bars. Michelle Rodriguez never got a chance to grow old. You don't deserve that chance either. Palmer is led away. He'll be transferred to a maximum security facility. He'll likely die in prison within the decade, but that's okay. That's justice. 3 days after the sentencing, Sarah Chen and Maria Rodriguez visit Michelle's grave. It's a beautiful spring morning. The cemetery is peaceful. Michelle is buried on a hillside overlooking the American River, the same river where her body was found. There's a new headstone. The old one just had her name and dates. The new one, paid for by crowdfunding donations from people who followed the case, reads, Michelle Teresa Rodriguez, 1958 to 1981 daughter. Sister, friend, gone too soon. Never forgotten, justice delayed. Never denied. Maria places flowers at the grave. Yellow roses, Michelle's favorites. We did it, sis, Maria whispers. We got him. You can rest now. Sarah stands back, giving Maria privacy. But Maria turns to her. Thank you, Maria says, for not giving up, for seeing Michelle as more than just a file number. She deserved justice, Sarah says simply. Every victim deserves someone who won't stop looking. They stand in silence for a while. The wind rustles through the trees. Birds sing. Life continues, but now, finally, there's peace. The Michelle Rodriguez case makes headlines for weeks. It becomes a symbol of hope for families of cold case victims across the country. Because of the publicity, Sacramento Police Department receives funding to review and test DNA evidence in 40 more cold cases. Sarah Chen leads the project. 3 more cases are solved within the year using similar genetic genealogy techniques. 3 more families get answers. 3 more killers are brought to justice. Michelle's case starts a chain reaction. A legacy of justice. Sarah Chen is interviewed by CNN 3 months after the trial. What would you say to families waiting for answers in cold cases? The reporter asks. Sarah thinks for a moment. I'd say don't give up hope. Technology is advancing every day. Evidence that couldn't tell us anything 20 years ago can solve a case today. DNA doesn't forget. DNA doesn't lie. And as long as there's evidence, there's a chance for justice. Do you think all cold cases can be solved eventually? I think the ones where the killer is still alive have a good chance. We're in a golden age of forensic science. Cases that were unsolvable in 1980 or 1990, or even 2000 can be solved now. And 10 years from now, we'll have even better tools. What about the Rodriguez case specifically? What did it teach you? Sarah considers. It taught me that justice doesn't have an expiration date. Richard Palmer thought he got away with it. He thought after 40 years he was safe. But Michelle Rodriguez never stopped speaking. Her DNA evidence was her voice, waiting to be heard. And eventually, finally, we learned to listen. 1 year after Richard Palmer's conviction, Maria Rodriguez publishes a book. It's called Waiting for Justice, The Michelle Rodriguez Story. It's part memoir, part true crime investigation, part meditation on grief and hope and persistence. In the acknowledgments, she thanks Detective Sarah Chen, Detective James Morrison, who never gave up even when the trail went cold, Dr. Patricia Wong, the genetic genealogist, the prosecutors, the lab technicians, everyone who played a role in bringing Michelle's killer to justice, and she thanks Michelle herself. You never gave up fighting, Maria writes. Even in your final moments, you fought. You left us the evidence we needed. You trusted us to find it, to use it, to bring him to justice. We kept your faith. Rest in peace, Cess. You're finally free. Richard Palmer dies in prison on January 15, 2027, of a heart attack. He's 71 years old. He serves only 2 years of his life sentence. Some people say that's not enough, that he got off easy, that he should have suffered more, longer. But Sarah Chen sees it differently. He spent 43 years looking over his shoulder, she says when asked about Palmer's death. He spent 43 years knowing that one day, maybe, the truth would come out. And then it did. He spent his final years not as a free man, but as what he really was, a convicted murderer. His name will forever be associated with his crime. His family knows what he did. His grandchildren know. There's no hiding anymore. That's a kind of justice, too. The cemetery where Michelle Rodriguez is buried has become a pilgrimage site of sorts. Families of other cold case victims leave flowers, leave notes. True crime enthusiasts visit and pay respects. Someone starts a tradition of leaving yellow roses on Michelle's birthday. Maria visits every month. Sometimes Sarah Chen joins her. They talk about Michelle, about the case, about life. On the 2-year anniversary of the arrest, they stand at the grave together as the sun sets over the American River. Do you think she knows? Maria asks. That we got him. I think she knows, Sarah says. However these things work, whatever happens after, I think she knows. Maria smiles. It's a sad smile, but there's peace in it too. Good. That's good. They stand in silence as darkness falls. The river flows on. Time passes. But some things endure. Memory endures. Justice endures. Love endures. And the truth, no matter how long buried, eventually comes to light. Detective Sarah Chen is promoted to lead the Cold Case DNA unit in 2028. Under her leadership, the Sacramento Police Department solves 27 cold cases over the next 3 years. 27 families get answers. 27 killers face justice. The Michelle Rodriguez case becomes part of the curriculum at the FBI Academy. Future investigators study it as an example of how persistence, technology, and dedication can crack even the coldest cases. Maria Rodriguez speaks at victim advocacy events across California. She tells Michelle's story. She talks about the importance of funding cold case investigations. She gives hope to families still waiting. In 2030, California passes the Michelle Rodriguez Act, providing state funding specifically for DNA testing in cold cases. The act funds testing for over 500 unsolved murders from the 1970s and 1980s. Dozens are solved within the first year. Michelle's legacy grows beyond her own case. She becomes a symbol, a reminder that victims are never just statistics. That time doesn't erase justice. That families deserve answers. On October 15, 2030, years after her death, memorial is unveiled on the Sacramento State campus. It's a bench overlooking the parking lot where Michelle was last seen alive. The plaque reads, "In memory of Michelle Rodriguez, graduate student. 1979, 1981. Justice delayed is not justice denied." Maria is there for the unveiling, now 70 years old. Her daughter, Michelle, named after her aunties, there with her own children. 3 generations. Sarah Chen is there too. Retired now, but still active in cold case advocacy. They sit on the bench together as students walk past, heading to class, chasing their dreams. The same dreams Michelle once chased. She should have grown old, Maria says quietly. She should have had a career, a family. She should have lived. Yes, Sarah agrees. But because she didn't, because of what happened to her, other families got justice. Her case broke open doors. It changed how we investigate cold cases. It saved other people's sisters and daughters. Maria nods. She wanted to help people, to make a difference. I guess she did, just not the way she planned. The way we make a difference is rarely the way we plan, Sarah says. But it still counts. They sit in silence, watching the sun set over campus. Watching students live the life Michelle should have lived, and somewhere in the DNA databases and forensic labs and cold case units across America, evidence waits. Evidence from other victims, other crimes, other families waiting for answers. The work continues. The search for justice never ends, because some voices like Michelle Rodriguez refuse to be silenced. They speak through DNA, through determination, through people who refuse to give up. They speak across decades, across generations, across the void of time itself. They say, I was here. I mattered. I deserve justice, and eventually, finally, someone hears.